I remember that night very clearly. It was the middle of summer, about 3 years ago. I was living with my parents in a small rural town in the Midwest. The kind of place where there are more cornfields than houses. The roads are long and quiet, and after sunset, everything feels far away from the rest of the world. Nothing ever really happens there, and that is why what happens still stays in my head. At that time, I was 20 years old. I had just started community college and still lived at home to save money. My younger sister had just turned 16 and recently got her learner's permit. Every evening she wanted to practice driving. My parents were usually tired after work, so I was the one who sat in the passenger seat while she drove around town. I did not mind it. It gave me something to do. That Tuesday night felt normal. It was around 9 in the evening. The sky was dark, but the air was still thick and hot. The humidity made everything feel heavy. My car's air conditioner was broken, so all 4 windows were rolled down. Warm wind pushed through the car while we drove through quiet neighborhoods. Crickets were loud in the grass. Porch lights glowed softly on small houses. Everything felt calm. After about 30 minutes, I told myself we should head home. My sister wanted just a little more practice, so I told myself we could loop near the small commercial area before turning back. There was a gas station at a busy intersection about 2 miles from our house. I thought it would be easy for her to pull in there and turn around safely. She drove into the gas station parking lot without any problem. The lights above the pumps were bright and white, but one corner of the lot near the exit was darker because the streetlight there had burned out weeks ago. Bushes and a tall sign blocked the view of the main road. She pulled up slowly to the edge of the sidewalk and stopped, waiting for a break in traffic so she could turn right. Cars kept passing fast. Their headlights flashed across the front of our car again and again. The road never seemed to clear. We sat there with the engine running, warm air moving through the open windows. That was when I felt it. Before I saw anything, I felt something shift in the air, a strange pressure. I looked to my right toward the dark corner near the bushes. At first, I saw nothing. Then I noticed a shape standing in the shadow. It was a woman. She stood still near the bushes, half hidden by darkness. I could not see her face clearly because the light did not reach that far. I could only see the outline of her body and the way her shoulders were slightly bent forward. She looked older, maybe around 50. Her clothes looked loose and uneven. I felt my stomach tighten. She stepped closer to the car. Her feet moved slowly, almost carefully. I noticed how close she was to the open passenger window. The inside of the car suddenly felt too exposed. The warm air no longer felt comfortable. It felt unsafe. I did not say anything. I just watched her. Her face stayed mostly in shadow, but I could see her mouth move slightly as if she was speaking. I could not hear clearly because of the passing cars, but I understood what she wanted. Her body language showed desperation. Her hands moved together nervously. She leaned forward just enough to look inside the car. I felt torn inside. Part of me felt sympathy. It was late. It was dark. She looked lost. But another part of me felt something else. Something heavy and wrong. I could not explain it. There was no clear threat, no weapon, no aggressive move. But the feeling in my chest grew stronger. Cars kept passing. We were stuck there. She stepped closer again. Now she was only a few feet from the passenger door. I could hear her breathing over the traffic. It sounded uneven and rough. Her eyes were hard to see, but I felt like she was studying me. Not my sister, me. Time slowed down. I remember thinking that if I unlocked the door, everything would change. That small click would decide something important. I imagined her sitting in the back seat. I imagined driving down the road with her behind me. I imagined dropping her off somewhere in the dark countryside. My thoughts moved fast. The traffic finally cleared. A small gap opened on the road. I felt relief wash over me like cool water. I told myself to go. My sister pressed the gas pedal harder than usual. The tires made a quick, sharp sound as we turned onto the main road. I looked into the side mirror without thinking. The woman was still standing there. She did not wave. She did not chase the car. She did not move at all. She just stood in that dark corner, watching us drive away. The rest of the drive home felt quiet. The crickets were still loud. The night looked the same. But something inside me felt unsettled. I told myself it was nothing. Just a strange moment. Rural towns always have strange moments. I tried to forget about it. A few days later, while I was alone in my room, I was scrolling through social media. A post from the local police department appeared on my screen. It was a missing person alert. My eyes stopped moving when I saw the photo. It was her, the same woman, the same hair, the same shape of her face. The post said she had been last seen near that same gas station on Tuesday night, the night we saw her. She had missed her bus stop and was trying to get home. My chest felt tight. The report said she never made it home. I stared at the screen for a long time. My mind replayed that moment at the gas station again and again. The dark corner, the burned-out streetlight, her breathing, the way she stood so close to the open window. Days passed, weeks passed. The missing posters stayed up around town. Then they slowly disappeared. No updates came. 2 months later, I stopped at that same gas station during the day to buy gas. The place looked normal. Cars moved in and out. The sky was bright blue. It felt safe. Inside the store, I overheard someone mention her name. I listened without meaning to. They said her body had been found in a cornfield outside town. What made my blood run cold was the next detail. She had only been dead for about 1 day when they found her. That meant she had been alive for 2 months after the night we saw her. 2 months. Someone had taken her. Someone had kept her somewhere. I walked back to my car in a daze. My hands shook as I unlocked the door. I sat in the driver's seat and stared at the steering wheel. The memory felt sharper now, clearer. I realized something that still makes my skin crawl. When she stood by my window, she did not look confused. She did not look lost. She looked afraid. I began to wonder if she had been trying to escape someone, if she had seen something in the dark that I did not see. Maybe someone was watching her from across the street. Maybe someone was waiting. I will never know. What I do know is that after we drove away, someone else must have stopped. And that person did not take her somewhere safe. I live in the same rural town today. The roads are still long and quiet. The cornfields still stretch for miles. The gas station is still there, and the streetlight in that corner has been fixed. But I do not stop there at night anymore. Sometimes when I drive past, I slow down without meaning to. I look at that corner near the bushes. Even when no one is there, I feel that same pressure in my chest. I think about how close she stood to my car. I think about how small that decision was. And I think about how sometimes the scariest part of a story is not what you see. It is what you almost changed. This happened about 20 years ago, during the winter of 2004. I still remember it clearly. The memory feels sharp in my mind, like it just happened yesterday. I was living in upstate New York at the time. I was married and I had a 3-year-old son. That night, I was driving my family home after a long holiday visit. It was late, almost midnight. Snow was falling softly, covering the roads and trees in white. Everything looked quiet and peaceful, but something about the night felt heavy. The highway was closed because of an accident, so I had to take back roads through rural areas. These roads were narrow and dark. There were no streetlights. There were only trees, open fields, and long stretches of empty road. Snow covered the ground and the branches above me. The world felt silent. Even inside the car, it felt like the quiet was pressing against me. I drove slowly because the road was slippery. My hands were tight on the steering wheel. I focused on the yellow line in the center of the road. I remember feeling tired but alert at the same time. Snow kept falling into the light of my headlights. It almost looked beautiful, but it also made it harder to see clearly. I was coming up on a sharp curve called Miller's Bend. I knew this curve could be dangerous, especially in winter. I pressed the brakes gently and slowed down. The tires slid just a little, but I kept control. As I turned the wheel and my headlights moved across the trees, something stepped out from the woods. At first, my brain did not understand what I was seeing. Then I saw clearly that it was a little girl. She looked about 9 or 10 years old. She was wearing a bright pink jacket that stood out against the snow. Her hair looked wet and stuck to her face. She moved fast, stepping close to the edge of the road. My heart jumped hard in my chest. I did not expect anyone to be out there. There were no houses nearby, no lights, no sidewalks, just forest and farmland. I pressed the brakes harder but tried not to slam them. I was scared the car would spin if I lost control. She raised one arm high in the air. For a second, I thought she needed help. That thought lasted only a moment. As my car moved past her slowly, I saw her face clearly in the headlights. Her mouth was open wide. Her eyes were stretched and focused only on me. Her expression did not look scared. It did not look sad. It looked angry. Very angry. Her arm came down hard as my car passed. I heard a dull hit against the back of the car. The sound was not loud, but it was real. My body filled with cold fear. I felt it move from my chest to my hands. My fingers tightened even more around the wheel. I looked in the rearview mirror right away. I expected to see her running. I expected to see her standing in the road. But there was nothing. The road behind me was empty. Snow was falling gently. The red glow of my taillights showed only smooth white snow. I felt confused. I knew what I had seen. I knew I had not imagined her. I had seen her jacket. I had seen her face. But the road behind me showed no sign of anyone. There were no footprints in the snow. There were no marks leading back into the woods. I told myself she must have moved fast. Maybe she ran into the trees quickly. Maybe the falling snow was covering her tracks. I tried to calm my thoughts, but the fear did not leave. It stayed in my stomach like a heavy stone. I drove forward slowly, thinking about turning around. I felt a strange pull inside me. Part of me wanted to go back and check. Another part of me felt strong danger. The image of her face stayed in my mind. It did not look like the face of someone asking for help. It looked like the face of someone trying to harm me. About a quarter mile ahead, I saw something else. On the side of the road, partly hidden near a small farm path, there was a dark van. It had no lights on. It was parked facing the direction I had just come from. It looked out of place. There were no houses nearby, no barns, just open land and trees. As my headlights passed over it, I saw a small movement inside. It was quick, but I saw it. It looked like someone sitting in the driver's seat. I saw the window shift slightly, like it was being rolled up. My heart started beating faster. The pieces in my head began to connect. A little girl stepping into the road. A van waiting in the dark just past the curve. The road was quiet and empty. No other cars had passed for a long time. I felt sick. I realized that if I had stopped, if I had stepped out of the car, I would have been standing alone on a dark rural road in the snow. The van would have been right there. I would have been exposed. The fear became stronger. It was not panic. It was a deep, cold understanding that something was very wrong. I pressed the gas pedal and kept driving. I did not look at the van again. I focused on the road ahead. The rest of the drive felt long and tense. Every shadow looked like a person. Every tree looked like it could hide someone. I kept checking my mirror, afraid I would see headlights following me. But there was nothing behind me. Just darkness and falling snow. When I finally reached home, I did not feel relief. I felt shaken. My hands were still tight. My shoulders hurt from holding tension. I went inside and locked the door immediately. I stayed awake for a long time that night. Every small sound made me alert. The next morning, I went outside to look at my car. On the back side panel, I found a fresh scratch. It was thin but clear. In the center of it was a dark smear. It looked like dirt mixed with something thicker. I cleaned it off slowly. My hands were shaking again. For weeks after that night, I watched local news and read reports online. I looked for anything about a missing girl. I looked for anything about suspicious activity on that road. I found nothing. No reports. No warnings. No accidents. That made it worse. If it had been a simple crime, I could understand it. If it had been a prank, I could explain it. But there was nothing. The detail that still bothers me most is the snow. Fresh snow shows everything. It shows footprints. It shows movement. When I looked back, the road was smooth and untouched. There were no prints near the shoulder, no marks crossing the road. I try to tell myself that I missed something. I try to believe she moved faster than I saw. I do not believe in ghosts. I believe people are capable of terrible things. I believe traps are real. I believe danger hides in simple places. But I cannot explain how she disappeared from that road in seconds. I cannot explain the smooth snow behind me. Even now, when it snows at night and I drive through rural areas, I feel that same tightness in my chest. I slow down at sharp curves. I scan the tree line carefully. I do not drive that road after dark anymore. Some places look normal in the daytime. Miller's Bend looks quiet and harmless under the sun. But at night, with snow falling and the world silent, I know what I saw. And I know how close I came to stopping. I grew up in a very small town in the mountains of West Virginia. When I say small, I mean there were more trees than people. My house sat at the end of a dirt road. The nearest neighbor was far enough away that I could not see their lights at night. The closest gas station was almost an hour away. At night, the world felt empty. The only sounds were wind, insects, and sometimes animals moving through the woods. Where I grew up, people helped each other. If you saw someone walking on the side of the road, you stopped. It did not matter who it was. You did not leave someone alone in the cold. That was just how things worked. I never thought twice about it. This happened a few years ago on Christmas night. I was 18 at the time. I felt grown. I felt strong. I believed nothing bad could really happen to me. I had just left my parents' house after spending the whole day with family. The house had been warm and loud. We ate a big dinner. We opened presents. We watched football. Everything felt normal and safe. Around 1 in the morning, I got into my old pickup truck and started driving toward my girlfriend's house. She lived even deeper in the mountains than I did. To reach her house, I had to drive through a long stretch of road we called the Gap. It was about 20 miles of nothing. No houses, no streetlights, no stores. Just 2 lanes of road cutting through forest and hills. It was very cold that night. The kind of cold that hurts your skin when you breathe in. My truck heater was running high, but the windows still felt cold to the touch. The radio lost signal halfway up the mountain. I turned it off because the static made the silence worse. I was driving too fast. I knew the road well, so I felt confident. My headlights were the only light for miles. The trees on both sides looked like black walls. It felt like I was the only person awake in the world. About 10 miles into the Gap, I saw something ahead on the right side of the road. At first, I thought it was an animal. Then I realized it was a person. A man was walking along the gravel shoulder. I passed him quickly. My brain needed a second to understand what I had seen. It was 1:30 in the morning. It was freezing outside. No one should have been walking there. I kept driving for a few seconds. Then I thought about how people raised me. You do not leave someone alone in the cold. I imagined what would happen if his car had broken down. I imagined him freezing before morning. I pressed the brakes hard. The truck slowed fast, and the back tires slid a little on the cold road. I stopped, then shifted into reverse. I backed up slowly until my reverse lights showed him again. As I got closer, I noticed more details. He was wearing dark camouflage clothes, heavy ones, like hunting gear. In his hand, he held a compound bow. That made me pause. Still, I told myself it made sense. It was hunting season. Maybe he had been out in the woods and lost track of time. Maybe he got turned around. I rolled down the passenger window slightly. I felt cold air rush inside. I let him get closer before unlocking the door. I watched him in my side mirror as he placed the bow in the back of my truck. He did not toss it. He set it down carefully. He opened the passenger door and climbed in. As soon as he sat down, I noticed a smell. It was not sweat. It was not alcohol. It was something metallic, like old pennies. The air inside the truck felt colder, even though the heater was still running. I started driving again. He did not move much. He stared straight ahead. I could feel his presence beside me, but he did not look around. He did not seem nervous or thankful. He just sat there. I tried to focus on the road. My hands felt damp on the steering wheel. I became very aware of the silence. The truck engine sounded louder than before. Every small movement felt important. The road ahead curved through the trees. My headlights showed nothing but empty pavement and darkness beyond it. After a few minutes, he shifted slightly in his seat. He pointed ahead to a gravel logging road on the right. I knew that road. It was a dead end that led into a clearing deep in the woods. Teenagers sometimes used it during the summer, but in winter it was empty. I slowed down and turned onto the gravel. I did not drive far in. I kept the truck angled toward the main road. I left the engine running. I stopped. For a few seconds, neither of us moved. Then he opened the door and stepped out. Cold air rushed into the cab again. I suddenly remembered his bow. I looked into the mirror and saw him walk to the back of the truck. He picked up the bow and held it in one hand. He came back to the open passenger door. I leaned toward the door to pull it shut, but he stood there. The inside light of the truck was on now, and it showed his face clearly. His face was pale. His eyes were wide and steady. He did not blink much. He did not smile. He did not look angry either. He just looked at me. The way he looked at me made my stomach feel tight. It did not feel like a normal look between two people. It felt like he was studying me, like he was measuring something. Time felt slow. I could hear my own breathing. I could hear the wind moving through the trees behind him. He stood there for several seconds. Then he stepped back slowly. I did not wait. I grabbed the door and pulled it shut. I locked it fast and pressed hard on the gas pedal. The truck's tires spun on the gravel before catching the road. I drove away quickly. As I pulled back onto the highway, my headlights swept across the entrance of the logging road one more time. That was when I noticed something I had not seen clearly before. There was a beige minivan parked just off the gravel road, partly hidden in the trees. Its lights were off. Its engine was off. The sliding side door was open. It was facing toward the main road. I felt a cold wave move through my body. I realized that the van had been sitting there the whole time, waiting. The open door looked dark and empty from where I was, but it did not look abandoned. It looked ready. I drove faster than I ever had before on that road. I kept checking my mirrors. I expected to see headlights behind me, but there were none. The forest looked different now. The shadows felt deeper. Every curve in the road made me nervous. When I finally reached my girlfriend's house, my hands were shaking. I locked my truck and went inside quickly. I did not sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face under the light in my truck. I saw the open van door in the woods. In the weeks after, I looked online for any news about crimes in that area. I never found anything. No missing persons. No reports of attacks. But that does not make me feel better. I still think about how he looked at me. I think about how carefully he placed his bow in the back of my truck. I think about how he stood in the doorway and did not move. Most of all, I think about that van. I do not know what was supposed to happen that night. I do not know if I interrupted something or if I was almost part of something. I still live in a rural area, but I do not stop anymore. I do not care who is walking on the side of the road. I keep my doors locked. I keep my eyes forward. And I keep driving.